Ooh, I almost started in the wrong spot. 6.4, the last section of this video or this chapter. Oh. So I said earlier in some of the other chapters, radicals are fraction exponents. Radicals are fraction exponents. So now, if we do not have the same index, we can still combine stuff. Square root of 36 is the same thing as 36 to 1/2. Both of them, the overall answer would be 6. Same here. Cubic root of 64 is 64 to 1/3. Fourth root of 16, 16 to 1/4. So now when I'm doing this, I can simplify this as the cubic root of 216. Now, when you're doing this, first I would check to see if you can just do it in your calculator. Because if you can, why not? Oh, the answer is just 6. So I'm just going to have the answer 6. Just to let you know, it's not always going to be that easy. Here, now this is going to be rewritten as the square root of 7 times the square root of 7. You do not multiply these exponents. Square root of 7 times square root of 7, square root of 49, which is just equal to 7. Okay, we're starting off easy. Here, we have the fourth root of 5 times the fourth root of 125. Now, you could also just put this in your calculator. 5 times 125 gives me 625. 625. So I'm looking at the fourth root of 625. You might maybe have to do the number. We're going to go, math. Fourth root, 625 is just 5. I'm going to try D, E, and F. Pause and try those 3 by yourself. D, square root of 11 times square root of 11, square root of 121 is 11. Square root of 64, 8. Square root of 3 times square root of 12, because of 1/2, this is just a square root, because if there's no index, it's 2. Square root of 36, 6. Starting off easy. Keep looking at the next page. We have what we want you to do is to move in between the two. Fraction exponent to radical, radical to fraction. So in this case, if I want to rewrite this in radical form, the denominator is your index. So my index here is 7. Whatever is on top should be inside the root. Here I have a negative. I'm going to change this so that this is a fraction. So this is the same thing as -7/2. Now the negative does not go with the denominator. So this is the same thing as y to the -7/2, which would be equal to the square root. Since it's negative, I'm going to actually put that on the bottom right away, like this. However, I'm going to rewrite this so that the square root of 1 is just 1. I have a group here because since this was over 1, here's a hint, nudge, nudge. I can rewrite this as y to the third, because there's 3 groups of 2 and 7, square root y. And just for right now, we could rationalize that. We're not going to do that because we're just not, and just for this case. Rewrite in exponential form. No index, my index here is 2. That becomes your denominator. Okay? So a to the 5/2 is the same thing as the square root of a to the 5th. It doesn't matter which way you do it. The b, so I can put this b to the 1/5, and then a cube on the outside. I still power to a power. I should be multiplying b to the 3/5. Right now, I want you to pause and try to do c and d by yourself. So for c, again, we have that negative. The negative should go with the top, the 5. The 8th is your index. And since it's a negative exponent, it moves to the bottom. It creates a fraction. And again, we're just not going to rationalize it for right now. 0.2 as a fraction is 1/5. 5 is my exponent. And then x to the first be inside. And now changing to a fraction exponent. index is 4. That's like multiplying by 1/4 power. So it'd be x to the 3/4. So again, it'd be like this. Power to a power, you multiply. Changing fifth index to 1/5, and then power to a power, you multiply. So what if we have something like this? First you want to do is combine it so that it's all into fraction exponents. So these properties are still the exact same. Nothing has changed from 6.0. Properties are the same. We're just dealing with fractions. So on top here, I can rewrite this as x to the 3/4 power. On bottom, this would be x to the 2/8, which would be x to the 3/4 over x to the 1/4. Now I'm having division. Remember, it's x. I can do it 3/4 minus 1/4. 3/4 minus 1/4 because I'm taking the top exponent, subtract the bottom because it's division. So now this would be x to the 2/4, which is x to the 1/2, and you should actually write your answer as a radical. So my overall answer would be square root of x there. This simplifies to be square root x. So the second one, now we're dealing with numbers. So this is going to be 3 to the 1/3 times 3 to the 1/4. Same base. You're multiplying with the same base, so now you're going to be adding your exponents. 1/3 plus 1/4. And just because I don't want to use my brain too much, I'm going to do 1/3 plus 1/4. You shouldn't have a decimal. Math. Change it to a fraction. I get 7/12. 3 raised to the 7/12. Should not leave it as a fraction exponent. This is your index. So my index here is 12, and then I have 3 to the 7th, and this would be my answer. Now you should try the next. Pause and try the next one by yourself. Next two. This becomes x to the 3/2 over x to the 2/3. Again, it's the top, subtract the bottom. 3/2 minus 2/3 is 5/6. The 6 is your index, and then x to the 5th. If you can simplify this, you should, but I can't. Square root 7 is the same thing as 7 to the 1/2. Cubic root 7 is 7 to the 1/3. I'm multiplying with the same base. The base does not change. Base does not change. It's adding the exponents. 5/6. 6 outside, 7 to the 5th. Okay, what is each one in simplest form? Now, these were all given to you with prime numbers. What if they're not? This is where I've been saying that you should kind of get to know your powers of 2s and 3s. I'm going to rewrite right now two things. I'm going to rewrite 16 as 2 to the 4th. So you should write it in prime factorization. So 2 to the 4th, if you want to check. I don't know what 2 raised to the 4th is. It's 16. I'm also going to rewrite 2.5 as a fraction. So it's going to be a negative. 2.5 would be 5/2. Negative 5/2, right? Yes. Now I have a power to a power. I can multiply those. So this becomes 2 raised to the negative. It's going to be negative. Positive times a negative. 20, negative 20 over 2, which is the negative 10. Okay? Now I should rewrite this. If it's negative exponent, that whole base and everything with it goes to the bottom. And depending on how big this number is, let's see. I mean, that's not that big. So my final answer would be 1 over 1,024. So here, first, if it's an odd exponent or an odd index, that's fine to be negative. So now I'm going to rewrite this as negative 2, that's negative 32, raised to the 5th power. 32 raised to the 5th power is going to give me negative 32 to the 4/5. Okay? Power to a power, I multiply, so this gives me a negative 20 divided by 5, so it would be 4. So it would be negative 2 raised to the 4th power. Negative 2 raised to the 4th power would give me 6 16. Pause and try to do the next two by yourself. Pause. Unpause. 16 is 2 to the 4th. So instead of writing 16, all right, 2 to the 4th. So power to a power, so that 3/4. So this is still 16 raised to the 3/4 power. Power to a power I multiply. 2/3 is 8. Negative 3/2 is the same thing as negative 7/2. So that's what I did right here. I changed my decimal to a fraction. I also rewrote 9 as 3 squared. So now power to a power, you multiply, that gives you negative 7. The negative exponent means the whole base and what it's attached to. This whole thing moves to the bottom of the fraction. And 3 to the 7th is 2,187. So 1 over 2,187. Okay, that sounds easy, Ms. Frickman. Okay, sounds good. Okay, well now look at what we're getting at. It's still the same thing. I'm going to rewrite this as negative 2 raised to the 3rd. I'm going to write this as x. I could put a little one if I want. And then I have x, y raised to the 1/2 power. Oh my gosh, this is getting so big. So let's just take it one step at a time. So I'm going to bring it here, here, here. So this first one becomes negative 2. 3 times 2/3 is 2. 1 times 2/3 is 2/3. This is still in parentheses. 1/2 times 2/3 is 1/3. Okay, now actually I'm going to bring this 1/3 to this y and to this x. So I'm going to rewrite this right here because negative 2 squared, I can redo that, which is 4. I still have this x to the 2/3. This becomes x to the 1/3. This becomes y to the 1/3. Same base. Same base, I can add these two exponents. 2/3 plus 1/3 is 1. You should not leave your answer with a fraction exponent. So in this case, I have 4x. My index here will be 3. Cubic root of y. Again, it's positive because right here, when we did this squared, it was a positive number. So here, I'm going to rewrite 16 as 2 to the 4th. All I did from here to here is 16 is 2 to the 4th. Power to a power, you multiply. So I have 2 to the negative 3. 4 times negative 3/4 is negative 3. Y to the 6th. Because this becomes positive 24 over 4, which is 6. Don't leave it as a negative exponent. This would be y to the 6th, that's positive, so that stays on top, over 2 to the 3rd. You can simplify that further. Y to the 6th, 2 to the 3rd is 8. Please try C and D by yourself. Pause. Unpause. First, 8 is 2 cubed. 8 is 2 cubed. Power to a power I multiply. I get 2 to the negative 1, x to the negative 15 when I multiply that in. Both of these are negative. Both of them have to move to the bottom of the fraction. You can have a positive 1 right there. You don't have to, but it should be a fraction. 1 over 2 x to the 5th because this is negative right here. Okay? Next one, I changed my 9 to 3 squared, and I changed my y to the 1/4. Power to a power, you multiply. So in this case, this becomes 3. Yep, just 3 cubed, sorry. X to the 3/2, y to the 3/8. Now right here, I split up 3/2 to an x, and then, so that was this right here, and then I also have 4/8 here. Because you have to have the same index. Whatever is left over, you have to have the same index. That means you have to have the same denominator. So this was 1.5, but since this y already has 3 to the 8th, because 1/4 times 3/2 is 3/8, I have to make sure they have eighth index. So 3 squared is 27. This x comes out. Now I have 4 x's inside and 3 y's because I have the eighth index. You do not write a square root and then an eighth root. You have to write the same root. So in this case, it's the eighth. And there you have it. That was like all of chapter 6. And you guys are like so smart. So this was like so easy for you. So have a great day.